The Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on Media and Publicity, Temitope Ajayi, has dismissed claims that he called for the death penalty against National Youth Service Corps member who recently violated the scheme's bylaws. In a statement, Ajayi clarified that his earlier remarks on Facebook were misinterpreted, stressing that the maximum penalty under NYSC regulations is expulsion, not physical harm. He maintained that blatant disregard for NYSC bylaws and established protocols should attract appropriate disciplinary measures, particularly in the case of Corps members in question. Ajayi's clarification follows widespread backlash online, with many accusing him of advocating extreme punishment. Joining me live in the studio is Elvis Akpobi, Executive Director of the Not Too Young to Lead initiative, to give us a bit of insight on what's been going on. Elvis, you've been following the matter, right? And you're also a champion of rights of young people. What's your take in all of this? My take is,
I'm glad to be alive at a time like this. For a president who was once an activist, for a president who metamorphosed to get to where he is because his voice was not muted, was vocal as a young person. I'm sure he didn't send that aid to do whatever statement he made. I think it's just sustained mediocrity, which is common among our young people who get platforms to be on the table or the corridor of power, forgetting that power is transit, and we're first Nigerians, we're first young people before whatever privilege we've been given to be on the table where critical decisions are being made. So for me, I want to believe that the aide to the president said he said he was misconstrued, but the fact is the corps member should be commended. For a country where people's voices are muted, she expressed how she felt. I watched the video. She talked about the president. She described the president as being terrible. I've seen cases where the president used such words more than that while he was a young person, speaking for the voices, for the masses of other persons while he was much younger. The incumbent president was among those persons that came out to stage a walk against bad governance during the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's time. I didn't think anybody was, blackmailed, anybody was threatened, so I don't see any reasons why the young lady should be put under pressure. That's why we have democracy.
Where do you see this matter going? Because the young lady, Rita Uche, she was summoned to the local government office to meet with the LGI, which is the local government inspector, and she was escorted there with an activist, with a team of activists and lawyers. And when she got there on Monday yesterday, the officials who were supposed to be there for the panel hearing were not, they're all absent. Do you think this would die a natural death?
For me, it shouldn't die a natural death. Nigeria is at a stage where it's a time of calling out. If during electioneering, during campaign, you promise us something and you're not doing it, it's time to call out. The time the president was an activist, there were no social media. You should remember that we have the tool of our time, which is the social media, the internet and all that. And then young people are making use of it to express how they feel. Despite I don't subscribe to people, not respecting positions of authority. But the fact is, if you promised us good governance, you should, give us good governance. And it's not an autocratic setting we're playing.
You said something about respect. So I'm going to ask you, right? Where do we blur the lines between, dissent, which is talking and just being criticism of power, just critique really, and holding power accountable, speaking truth to power, and respect of the office? Where do we draw the line? Because what she said in those videos, like you said, was just her expressing her displeasure with the economic situation and calling out the presidency for not doing his job as he promised to. But then this has now sort of blurred to a point of disrespecting the office. So where do we?
For me, I don't see it as disrespecting the office of the president. We contracted governance with the president with our vote. Without us, there will be no president. And the presidency should remember that there's a generation of young people they need to negotiate with. There's a generation of young people that have the tool of our time, the smartphone. If they can't see you in person, they will express how they feel in person. So the one thing I noticed with power is power attracts mediocrity and hypocrisy, mostly among a critical mass of people that are being appointed. They do everything to protect their office, and that's what you see with the aid of the president.
Do you think that that's also might be overzealous? Because I noticed that almost all of his cabinet members or anyone who is in the office who has been appointed, they are very zealous to come out and champion
Yes, but there are still a handful that are in sync with young people. The present minister for youth development is someone that listens. He feels the pulse of the street. And oftentimes I've been privileged to meet with him and I tell him, this is how people are feeling. And you tell him, don't worry, so what we'll do about it. That statement alone is an encouragement to me. So when we see cases where people are being, privileged to be on the table where decisions are being made, they come out to, a mid-raise of mediocrity. It's so disheartening. It shuts doors for other young people. That's why you see comments on Facebook when people will be like, you are one of them. For me, when I'm privileged to be on the table, I speak the truth diplomatically. Boss, this is what the people are saying. Because it's the people that kept you there. If the people say no tomorrow, in the same climb, you will be out of that office. So for me, the youth corps should be complimented, should be commended for amplifying our voices.
Many would say that diplomacy is no more the answer, right? And let me finish here in saying that, given the economic situation that we find in this country, the youth have, said repeatedly that it's harder for them to survive. It's harder to meet those markers that society expects of you because of how society is. And just last year, August last year, during the NSAS, and I think on day 5, and bad governance protests, when the presidency gave his speech, he said there's going to be a 30-day National Youth Confab. Is that going to pacify the voices of the youth? Do you think that the National Youth Confab will now come to the fore in terms of conversation and planning at the national level? And would that pacify the youth given the economic situation that they've been crying on social media?
I think it should, because for me, to dialogue, you need to engage people.
But they've said they don't want to dialogue anymore.
That National Youth Confab, it's a pathway to dialogue if they don't politicize it. If they don't pick people that will speak to what they want, but speak for the masses. I'm watching they just inaugurated the planning committee. I'm watching closely the selection process when I think CSOs are involved, and that's why I come in. When they select people that will speak on their behalf, meaning it's a virtual posturing, and we will not subscribe to that. I believe the Minister for Youth, whom I've been engaging, knows how it should be done, and I trust that I will do the right thing. Yeah. For youth corps, I've been a youth corps. I've been a corps member in the 15, 14 years ago. I know how it feels. And for a young lady, for her to be able to express herself, she shows the part of dignity. She doesn't want to subscribe to negativity to take off her needs. And there are some places too. Back in Delta State, we have some corps members are having it very well in my state, and we have some foundations. There's this Eli Ogbebule Foundation who built a lodge for corps members, provide money for them and all that. But other corps are not privileged to have such.
They still want the government to do that.
Yes.
I mean, we're out of time, really, because we're pressed for time. But I must say thank you so much for coming on. Let's see how this plays out in the coming days. Well, I predict that the National Youth Confab conversation will come back to the fore, and it might just happen. Would it be enough to pacify the voices? Only time will tell. Will it, foster dialogue? Because the youth have said they don't want it. Only time will tell. But Elvis, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.